Hey guys, this is Jonathan Manoa. Today I'll be talking about Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE. First off, what is Bluetooth? Bluetooth is a short-range wireless communication technology that allows devices such as mobile phones, computers, and peripherals to transmit data or voice wirelessly over short distances while still keeping the communications between them secure. Um, they transmit using shortwave radio waves between 2.4 and 2.45 gigahertz. And BLE specifically is Bluetooth 4.0. BLE is low power consumption, which makes it ideal for transmitting small amounts of data fast. And the device will stay asleep until a connection is made. Because of both these things, it makes it ideal for IoT, as well as allows a BLE device to run on battery for a couple of years actually, which is pretty cool. Basically everything now has some sort of Bluetooth capability, and it's estimated that this year alone there was about 4 billion devices that were shipped with Bluetooth technology. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the basics. Devices are categorized basically into two different categories, both of which have a couple of different names depending upon what part of the process that you're in. But typically, you have centrals, which they can be thought of as like a server or a controller for the communication. Uh, Things that kind of fall into this category are like laptops or smartphones. Smartphones is probably the one that we're most familiar with. And then the other category is peripherals, and these can be typically thought of as a client. Um, the reason why I say smart devices are probably the most common for centrals is because a lot of people use things like Bluetooth speakers or fitness devices that you connect to from your phone that receives data from the peripheral. Um, to make a little bit of a scripture reference, 2nd Nephi 2:26, centrals can be thought of as things that are to act, and peripherals are things to be acted upon. And as we can see on the left-hand side, the different roles at both startup and after a connection is made. At startup, the central is what is looking for a peripheral, while the peripheral is advertising, hey, I'm here and you can connect to me, and the central then connects to it. Afterwards, the roles, they don't really change, but once the connection is made, a lot of times peripherals and servers can both read and write from each other. A lot of different services that are involved there. So to continue on with some of the basics, as I mentioned, there's services, and the services are things like receiving Bluetooth audio or a heart rate monitor service. these services are things that a device or peripheral can do, and then the characteristics are what you can do with that service. So for instance, with like a heart rate monitor, that would be the service, and then the characteristic would be that you can read and write data from it, or the peripheral can notify the client, or the peripheral can notify the server that something has changed. On the left-hand side are a list of some of the more common services that are out there. These are ones that are standardized by Bluetooth SIG. You should check them out if you're interested in sort of Bluetooth. They give a lot of resources on how to create your Bluetooth devices and different applications and just a whole ton of information. And then lastly, for some of the basics is UUIDs. They are 128-bit identifiers for the services and the characteristics. I'm going to give an example there. That's actually the one that I used for my project. And the 0001 that's bolded is the identifier for what that is. So for instance, since services and characteristics both use UUIDs, that 4-bit um, that 4-bit value there actually tells us the tells us what the service is that it can accomplish, while the rest of it's more of the identifier for whoever that created it, for instance. How is this then implemented? Well, I did my project in Swift, so I'm going to be using Swift as the language of how it gets implemented. So first we have our UUID of the service that we're looking for, and then the UUID of the characteristics that we're looking for, which is a receive and a transmit from the device. And so that's what we're going to be looking for. So first thing we're going to check is to see if the Bluetooth is on. And if it is on, we want to scan the peripheral to see if we find the UUID that we are looking for. If we have found it, then what we want to do then is to stop scanning and assign that peripheral to our variable so that way we can remember the peripheral and then connect to it. Once we are connected, then we want to check to see what services it provides. So that's what we're doing right there. Once we discover any sort of services that the device might have, we're then going to look for specific services so that way we can connect to those services and then be able to transmit data to it later. So we're just going to look for the receiving and transmitting characteristics of that service. And if we found the characteristics that we're looking for, we're going to assign that characteristic to another variable so that way later on we can transmit data to it. And then the last part of it is then we want to transmit our data to the Bluetooth device. And so what I just have here is the data that my app actually stores, convert it into bytes, and then transmit that bytes to the characteristic. Now that's just kind of sort of the general flow. I have mine really stripped down because I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I just wanted to keep it simple for this project. But there are a lot of different options for the Swift implementations, and I'm sure there is for implementations in other languages and for other sorts of devices. But there you go, that's BLE. Thanks.